Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chelsea and I usually talk about either sewing or motherhood or lifestyle things, but today I want to talk about those things that are sitting behind me, and that is the tech that I use every single day, whether it be for sewing related things or just for pleasure or for editing my YouTube videos. So what inspired this was I see videos all the time on YouTube about what's the best tech you can get, what you should be using in your YouTube setup, what you should be using just for day-to-day life, for school, for work. And a lot of the time it's promoting the biggest and the best, and I don't have the biggest and the best of anything other than probably my camera, which is still not the biggest and the best. I use a Canon G7X Mark II, so it's not even the most recent Canon G7X model, but it's what works for me. So I thought I would share how these things are functional for me in my daily life, and hopefully that'll help you when you're making your purchasing. Let's go over there and look at them. Alright, first things first, let's talk about a piece of tech that just about everybody has, and that is a cell phone. This is just an iPhone 11. It's not even an 11 Plus, it's just the regular iPhone. I use this obviously in my day-to-day life just for texting and calling and scrolling and whatnot, but I also use it for editing photos. I don't like to edit photos on my iPad. Maybe I just haven't found the right way to do it yet, but I use Lightroom on my phone as well as Fonto for my YouTube thumbnails. So what goes along with that is this Lightning to SD card reader, which is this is an Apple product, and I got it when I realized that to get the stuff off of my Canon to my iPad or to my phone, I was gonna have to have a way to read an SD card. So that was one of my big pushes towards getting a camera, was I wanted the functionality of having an SD card and external storage so that I wasn't trying to airdrop huge files from my phone to my iPad for editing when I was recording on my phone. So that is a pretty simple fix. It wasn't the cheapest because it is an Apple brand product. This was the only one that I could find at Best Buy when we bought our camera, so I'll link it in the description box below, but this has been worth every penny. I also use my AirPods every single day. These are, I mean, nothing fancy. They're just regular AirPods. They don't have the wireless charging case or anything. I still have to plug it in, which is really not that big of an inconvenience. The case holds a charge forever. I put them in when I'm cleaning or when I'm sewing sometimes, just to listen to podcasts or things. I like to have stuff closer in my ears rather than over a speaker. Maybe that's weird of me, but that's my preference. They're not the AirPod Pros or anything like that. They're just AirPods, and they do absolutely everything I need them to do. They were actually my wedding gift from my husband. So the biggest piece of tech I would say that I use its full functionality for every single day is my iPad. So let me take all my accessories off here. This is my iPad. It is referred to on all of the YouTube videos that I can find. You can see my ring light in there, as a budget iPad. It's the 10.2 inch 7th generation model, and it's been fantastic. It absolutely is a budget model, and for that I'm grateful, because I didn't want to pay $800 for an iPad Pro when I could pay, I think we got this one for right around $400. It is the 128 gigabyte model, which was important to me because I use it primarily for editing my videos and keeping track of my orders for my small business. So it has been fantastic, and the functionality, to me, someone who's not a super techie person, I don't know any better, It does absolutely everything it's supposed to do. Let me turn you around so you can see what I'm talking about while I'm talking. So like I was saying, the YouTube tech guys that review all of these products refer to this iPad as the budget model. And that's in comparison to the iPad mini, iPad Air, and iPad Pro. This is the 7th generation, which was last year's model, 2019's model. 10.2 inch iPad. I do have it in 128 gigs, which for me was important because I store a lot of video files on here, and I also use it for my small business. My husband uses it for sketching out woodworking projects. So this is his woodworking app. I have no idea how to use it, but I mean, how cool is that? I think that's so cool. So we wanted the bigger storage. To me, it was worth the extra. I think it's $130 extra. For comparison, and I'll link the 8th generation in here in the description box, but it's going for, I believe, $429. Yeah, $429 for the 128 gig in the 8th generation and $299 for the 32 gig. But for me, the difference in the storage between 32 gigs and 128 gigs was absolutely worth that extra $130. So it's fantastic. It doesn't have a laminated screen, so there is an air gap between the screen and the inner part. But again, I'm not a super techie person, so that doesn't bother me at all. It is compatible with the 1st generation Apple Pencil, which we also got. This is, I believe, $99 on Amazon, and I've really enjoyed using it. The 2nd generation is a wireless connection and a wireless charging, I believe. And for this, you can, I don't know if it'll focus on that, but you have to like pull the cap off the end and charge it plugged in, which is really not that big of an inconvenience in my opinion. And they work together seamlessly. That's my biggest proponent for Apple products, is that if you have all Apple products, they just work together the way they're supposed to. So this was worth the investment for me. We originally got the iPad because I wanted to see if I was any good at designing stickers for an Etsy sticker shop. Turns out I'm not, which is fine because my sewing is my main focus, as well as growing my first baby is my main focus right now as well. But we got it for this Procreate app, and now I just use the Procreate app in my spare time to doodle, which is fun. I really enjoy it. But the apps that I use most often are Google Sheets, and that's where I keep track of my orders for my small business, as well as I use iMovie to edit all of my YouTube videos. This is my most used app on my iPad for sure. And of course, I also use it for Amazon. Occasionally I'll pull up Netflix, not as much anymore since Thomas mounted a TV in this sewing room for me. And I also use GoodNotes for my planner. This is next week, so there's nothing in here yet. I haven't started planning on it yet, but I really enjoy this app as well. I also really like this case. This is just a folio case that wraps up, you know, and it came with this Bluetooth keyboard, which it's just held on the case magnetically. You position it where you want it in relation to the angle you want your iPad set up at, as well as a Bluetooth mouse that I got separately, but they all match and they're pretty. Eventually I will want to upgrade to the Apple Smart Keyboard, but for now this does the job and it does it very well. So I really couldn't ask for anything more out of this iPad. I just couldn't justify the price difference between this iPad, the budget iPad, and the iPad Pro. I didn't even consider the iPad Air just because it didn't seem like there was all that much more bang for your buck over this one. It does have the black around the screen. It's not an edge-to-edge screen, and there are rounded edges on this iPad. But again, for what I'm using it for, It does not bother me at all. So this is my iPad tech that I use every day, alongside with this SD card reader, my AirPods, and my phone. Now let's come talk about my super old MacBook Pro. So you might be thinking, Chelsea, your iPad is set up like a laptop. Why do you have this old dinosaur of a MacBook Pro? And I'll tell you. I have this dinosaur of a MacBook Pro because I use it to project my patterns onto my cutting mat when I'm in my sewing room. That is all I have used it for the past year. This is a mid-2012 model MacBook Pro. It's a 13.3 inch. It's not a Retina display, and until very recently I thought it was a hunk of junk that all I really needed it for was to project onto this cutting mat, and that's it. But recently my very nerdy husband decided to start looking into the ways that we could make our home more tech savvy. He's super into the concept of a smart home, and that got him down the rabbit hole of old MacBooks and iMacs. And he came to me and said, Chelsea, when did you get your MacBook? And I was like, senior year of college, 2013. I think it was like the year before's model, because I've always been a year before's model kind of person. I don't typically buy brand new tech when it comes out. I usually take that opportunity to use the savings that you can get on the older model going on sale. So he was like, well, let's look at it, because if it's a mid-2012 model MacBook Pro without the Retina display with the unibody, which this is, then we can upgrade the internals on it and it'll run just as good as a brand new MacBook would. So I got to looking around, and wouldn't you know that I somehow luckily managed to purchase the last model of MacBook Pros that you could actually do a lot of like your own upgrades and stuff to, because the internals are not soldered together or something like that. I'm not the tech savvy person in this relationship, clearly. So the next thing that we will be doing tech wise is he's going to get like new SSD cards and stuff like that, and take these screws out of the bottom, I guess, and upgrade this computer so it'll run faster, and it'll run, the graphics will look better and everything on it. It still won't be like a gaming computer, but for personal use, it'll be a pretty sweet MacBook for the low price of like $100 in upgrades. So we're very excited about that. I do use, the only thing about these is this is one of the last models too that didn't have an HDMI port here. So I use the, I think it's called a Thunderbolt connector, Thunderbolt to HDMI. Very similar to the SD card reader that I use on my iPad and my phone. It's hooked up to my projector right now, but the HDMI comes in here, and then the video cable goes into my computer here. But it does have two USB ports. I think that's an Ethernet port, and of course it's got the MagSafe connector for the battery, so if you trip over your cord, it doesn't pull your whole computer down with it. It just unplugs the cord, which is pretty cool. It also has a headphone jack, which seems like really old tech now because nothing really has a headphone jack anymore besides my brand new iPad. And it has an SD card reader in this computer. So it's pretty cool that this old dinosaur is about to get a new life, but I will still primarily use it to project my patterns from my projector that's mounted on the ceiling down onto this. So I hope that if nothing else, y'all will give this iPad a try. It really has been just fantastic for my everyday use. I'm not playing any like crazy games on it or anything. I'm just using it for the purpose of editing video, and you know, occasionally I'll read a book on here, and I use basic computing functions. So if you're a student, if you are a business person that you need something that's affordable and works really, really well and works seamlessly with your iPhone and your other Apple products, I think the 10.2 iPad 7th or 8th generation is an excellent option. It works with the Apple Pencil. I have nothing bad to say about it. And as a matter of fact, we're probably about to get another one because Thomas wants one for himself. So that's my review of my outdated Apple tech and my budget buys. Let me know in the comments if you have any of these products, if there's apps that I could be using on this iPad that would make my life easier, or they're just plain fun. Let me know in the comments, and I will see you guys next time with another video. Bye.